Flip. Hey, Flippy, come here, man. I think I... Man, look at a little bit like my skin for.
Saw your last flash show reel.
The story hits the ground running in the smoke-filled atmosphere of a local boxing ring. Frankie Dunn is a veteran trainer, a man who knows the sweet science of boxing better than anyone. He's a specialist of the old guard, protective, cautious, and deeply skilled. We see his underdog fighter pull off a surprise victory, but for Frankie, it's just another day at the office. As Frankie exits the arena, he's intercepted by Maggie Fitzgerald. She isn't there for an autograph, she's there to demand a mentor. She tells Frankie she has a fight coming up and she wants him in her corner. But Frankie is a hard man to move. He gives her a cold, old-school refusal. I don't train girls. Frankie operates out of the Hit Pit, a gym that's seen better days. He runs the place with his only friend, Eddie Scrapiron Dupreez. Eddie is a former pro who paid for his career with a loss of an eye, a constant reminder of the physical debt the ring demands. The gym is on life support, struggling to keep the lights on, but Frankie's pride is still his biggest asset. Despite the rejection, Maggie is built differently. Frankie looks out his window and sees her practicing in the dirt, her technique raw but her determination explosive. When he tries to run her off again, Maggie shows her alpha spirit. She tells him that if he isn't her boss, he can't stop her, and if she has to push to get what she wants, she'll push harder than anyone he's ever met. We see the true grit behind Maggie's eyes. She's from a poor mountain village, working double shifts as a waitress. She lives on the scraps left behind by customers, hiding her hunger behind a lie about dog food, just to save every single cent. This isn't just a hobby, it's a mission. She eventually scrapes together 6 months of dues and drops the cash on the desk like a challenge. Frankie, stubborn to the bone, tells Eddie to give the money back. But Eddie knows the reality. The gym is broke and Maggie isn't going anywhere. He warns Frankie that trying to buy her off won't work. Maggie isn't just looking for a trainer, she's looking for a way out of her life, and she's already decided that Frankie is the only one who can lead her there. In the dead of night, the gym isn't empty. While Frankie sleeps, Eddie Scrapiron Dupreez finds Maggie still at work, training in the dark. This is where the bond begins. Eddie, a man who knows the cost of the ring, sees her heart and offers a specialist tip. He realizes she lacks the basic tools, a speed bag, and gives her his own. It's a silent pact. He's investing in her because he sees a fire that everyone else is ignoring. The next day, Frankie spots the new equipment. He's no fool, he knows Eddie is helping her. He tries one last time to break her spirit, using the most brutal weapon in sports, age. He tells her that at 31, she's ancient in the boxing world. He explains that specialist training takes years, and she simply doesn't have time left. But Maggie doesn't flinch. She's already been training for years on her own. Frankie dismisses her work as worthless practice, but he can't ignore her grit. He lets her keep the bag, and the stalemate continues. While Frankie is busy pushing Maggie away, he gets hit with a betrayal he never saw coming. His star pupil Mickey, the man he spent 8 years crafting into a contender, walks out. Mickey doesn't want a careful trainer anymore, he wants a big-time manager and a fast paycheck. He leaves Frankie with nothing but a cold, thank you. Frankie is left watching Mickey win a championship on TV under a different man's name. It's a gut punch. Heartbroken, Frankie returns to the gym late at night, only to find the one constant in his life, Maggie. It's her 32nd birthday. While most people are out celebrating, she's in a cold gym, punching a bag. She finally lays her cards on the table. She tells Frankie about a life spent washing other people's dirty dishes, about a family that abandoned her, and a father who is long gone. She isn't just boxing for a trophy, she's boxing because it's the only thing that makes her feel like she isn't invisible. Frankie finally breaks. He agrees to train Maggie, but he sets a specialist boundary. He will be her teacher, not her manager. He refuses to get emotionally invested or responsible for her career. He sets the rules. No questions, no crying, just work. Maggie agrees instantly. She's not just a student, she's a sponge, rehearsing footwork and punches even while serving tables at the restaurant. The training is grueling, but the results are undeniable. However, Frankie stays true to his word. When it's time for her first pro fight, he hands her off to a bargain bin manager. It's a disaster. The manager is an amateur who puts her in a mismatched fight and watches her get dismantled. Sitting in the stands, Frankie realizes he can't let a specialist's talent be wasted by a hack. He storms into the corner, pushes the useless manager aside, and claims his place. He isn't just her trainer anymore. He is her manager, her protector, and her ticket to the top. The hit pit duo is officially born, and Maggie's joy is the first real victory of the night. With Frankie officially in her corner, Maggie becomes a force of nature. Her style is pure Cinemaned energy, high speed, high aggression, and a search and destroy mentality. She begins a streak of first-round knockouts so brutal that Frankie actually has to start paying opposing managers to let their fighters get in the ring with her. She has become so dangerous that the entire industry is afraid of her. As Maggie climbs the ranks, the specialist lifestyle starts to get bloody. She moves up to face seasoned veterans, and in one brutal bout, she takes a shot that shatters her nose. Blood pours down her face, a sight that would make most fighters quit. But Maggie isn't most fighters. She looks Frankie in the eye and gives him a warrior's ultimatum. Fix it, and I'll end this right now. Frankie performs ringside surgery, stopping the bleeding just long enough for Maggie to step back in and deliver a devastating knockout. In the quiet of the hospital afterward, the alpha mask Frankie wears begin to slip. We learn the source of his guarded heart. He has a daughter he hasn't seen in years. He sends letters every week, but they always return unopened, marked as return to sender. Without saying it out loud, Frankie has begun to see Maggie as the daughter he lost. Eddie, the veteran observer, sees it clearly. This isn't just about boxing anymore, it's about redemption. Maggie's rise isn't just a streak, it's a demolition. She tears through the ranks, racking up 12 consecutive first-round knockouts. She becomes a ghost in the division, a fighter so efficient and lethal that most pros are terrified to even step in the ring with her. Naturally, this kind of dominance brings out the vultures. As the big money managers start circling like sharks, trying to lure Maggie away with promises of global fame and massive sponsorships, she shows a brand of loyalty that is nearly extinct in the professional world. When a high-profile manager corners her with a better offer, she shuts him down instantly. Her terms are non-negotiable. If Frankie isn't there, I don't fight. Her loyalty is rewarded with a ticket to the world stage. Frankie arranges a high-stakes fight in England against elite competition. In the locker room, he hands her a custom gown. On the back is a phrase written in Gaelic, Mo Chuishal. Frankie claims he doesn't know the translation, but it becomes her battle cry as she tears through Europe. Maggie becomes a global sensation, earning the kind of money she never dreamed of back in her small mountain village. But she doesn't spend it on luxury. In a true display of her alpha heart, the first thing she does is buy a brand new house for the family that once looked down on her. Maggie travels back to her roots, hoping her success will finally bridge the gap between her and her family. She surprises her mother with a brand new house, but the reaction is a Cinemaned reality check. Her mother doesn't care about Maggie's heart, she only cares about her welfare check. She's worried that owning a home will stop her government benefits, and she even mocks Maggie's career, calling boxing a joke. It's a cold realization, Maggie's family are parasites. In a final act of alpha dignity, Maggie hands over the keys and walks away, realizing that the only home she has left is the one she's built with Frankie. On the long drive back, the bond between Frankie and Maggie solidifies. Maggie tells a haunting story about her father and a crippled dog, a story about the mercy and the heavy burden of being a protector. Maggie admits that Frankie is all she has in this world, and Frankie makes a specialist's vow, he will always be there for her. They stop for a slice of lemon pie at a roadside diner, a moment of pure, quiet peace before the storm of a lifetime hits. The call finally comes, $1 million title championship. Maggie has reached the peak. Her opponent is the most feared woman in the ring, Billy, the Blue Bear. Billy is the ultimate anti-specialist. She doesn't just fight to win, she fights with a ferocity that borders on criminal. She is a seasoned, dangerous champion who has broken every fighter put in front of her. Maggie is no longer the waitress washing dirty dishes. She is the $1 million baby, and she's about to step into the cage with a beast. The bell rings, and the war for the $1 million title begins. Maggie is fighting with surgical precision, landing clean shots on the world champion, Billy, the Blue Bear. But Billy isn't a specialist, she's a predator who doesn't follow the rules. At the end of the first round, Billy lands a blatant, illegal punch after the bell. It's a move designed to break a fighter's spirit, but Maggie is an alpha, she stands her ground and stares the champion down. In the corner, Frankie's elite tactical mind takes over. He realizes that a standard attack won't work on a brawler like Billy. He gives Maggie a specialist directive, pick one spot and hammer it. In the third round, Maggie executes the plan perfectly. She targets a single weakness and breaks the champion down piece by piece. Billy is fading. The championship is seconds away. Maggie is about to become the best in the world. But as the bell rings to end the round, Maggie makes the one mistake a specialist can never afford. She turns her back before the threat is neutralized. Taking advantage of the distraction, Billy delivers a devastating, illegal sucker punch from behind. Maggie doesn't just go down, she falls toward her own corner, where her stool has already been placed. Her neck hits the wooden edge with a sickening force. When Maggie finally opens her eyes, the bright lights of the arena have been replaced by the cold fluorescent lights of a hospital. The diagnosis is a nightmare. Maggie has suffered a catastrophic spinal injury. She is paralyzed from the neck down, her breathing sustained only by a tube in her throat. The woman who was once the fastest, most aggressive fighter in the world is now a prisoner in her own body. Her nervous system has shut down, leaving her with nothing but her eyes and her voice. Frankie Dunn is a man who spent his life preparing for every possible outcome in the ring, but he wasn't prepared for this. He is completely shattered. He becomes a specialist in a new field, medical hope. He spends every waking hour calling hospitals across the country, searching for any treatment or any experimental surgery that could bring Maggie back. But there is no miracle. For 2 months, Maggie remains motionless. The woman who was once a blur of speed and power is now developing bedsores from the simple act of lying still. Through it all, Frankie never wavers. He isn't just a trainer anymore. He has become the father he failed to be for his own daughter. When Maggie is moved to rehab, the reality of her situation becomes a daily torture. It takes hours of agonizing effort just to move her from a bed to a wheelchair. Frankie watches this, haunted by the ghost of Eddie's career. He's spent years blaming himself for not stopping the fight that cost Eddie his eye, and now, seeing Maggie paralyzed, that old wound has been ripped wide open. But the true monsters aren't the ones who threw the punch. After weeks of silence, Maggie's family finally arrives, but they didn't come to comfort her. Frankie discovers they've been staying at a hotel nearby for 6 days, visiting theme parks while Maggie waited by the window for them. When they finally enter her room, they bring a lawyer and paperwork. They want the house Maggie bought them. They actually ask a paralyzed woman to sign over her property with her teeth. In a final act of alpha defiance, Maggie refuses. She sees them for the predators they are and banishes them forever. But the hits keep coming. Because her body can no longer heal itself, a severe infection forces the doctors to amputate her leg. As she weeps to Frankie, telling him they've taken the last piece of the fighter she used to be, Frankie stays. He is the only one left. The machines in the hospital room continue their mechanical rhythm, the only sound left in a life once defined by the roar of the crowd. In a quiet moment, Maggie asks the question that has become her last tether to the world: what did the Gaelic word on my gown mean? Frankie, the man who spent his life guarding his heart, tries to deflect. But Maggie is done with secrets. She looks at him and speaks the truth they've both known for months. You feel like my father. Then, the alpha fighter makes her final request. She reminds him of the story of the crippled German shepherd and the shovel. She is asking for the same mercy. She is a warrior who can no longer move, and she refuses to exist as a prisoner. Frankie, terrified of losing the only daughter he has left, refuses and walks away. But Maggie's resolve is absolute. That night, she tries to end her own life by biting through her tongue. She is willing to endure a bloody, agonizing end just to find an exit. Frankie is a broken man. He seeks guidance from a priest, who warns him that if he helps her, he will be lost forever. But it's Eddie, the man who saw the beginning of their journey, who provides the specialist perspective. He reminds Frankie that most people die never having a dream. Frankie gave Maggie hers. She didn't die a waitress, she died a contender. Frankie makes his choice. He returns to the hospital under the cover of night. He leans in close, his voice a whisper, and finally reveals the secret. Mo Chuishal. It means, my darling, my blood. With those words, he gives her the piece she's been begging for. He removes the tube, administers the injection, and watches as his champion finally finds a rest. Frankie doesn't go back to the gym. He doesn't go back to his letters. He vanishes into the world he and Maggie shared. The story ends exactly where Maggie was happiest, at that small roadside diner, eating a slice of lemon pie. The specialist has finished his final job, and for the first time in years, he is home. Maggie Fitzgerald didn't just want a trainer, she wanted a reason to believe she was worth something. And Frankie Dunn didn't just want a fighter, he wanted a chance to be the father he never was. In the end, they both got exactly what they needed, even if the price was everything. That is the story of Million Dollar Baby. If this breakdown hit you hard, make sure to like, subscribe to Cinemaned, and let me know in the comments, was Frankie right to give her peace? I'll see you in the next one.